UFC Fight Night Burns versus Malott in Canada is this weekend, and I'm going to go through the entire card from the bottom and all the way to the top and give my full card prediction and breakdown for what I think is going to happen in each fight. Allergies are kicking my butt right now, so sorry if I'm all stuffed up. And if I'm sneezing and sniffling, allergies suck. Um, we start the night off with Jamie Siraj versus John Yanis. Um, Yeah, a lot of these fights on this card, I'm gonna be completely honest. I do not know most of the fighters, and I'm not really that knowledgeable about most of these fights. But I'm gonna pick Jamie Siraj to win this fight. It's a Canadian against the lower level competition in John Yanis to start off the night. I think he's gonna come out, start well for the Canadians, even though I don't think the Canadians are gonna do that great on this card. I think Jamie Siraj is gonna do good. I think he's gonna knock out John Yanis to start out the card or beat him in a clear way. And yeah, we'll move swiftly on from that to John Castaneda versus Mark Vologden. Now, this fight I am actually somewhat confident in, and that is because I think Mark Vologden will beat John Castaneda, and I think he will knock him out. I don't think there's a way John Castaneda knocks out Mark Vologden. Vologden had a great fight on the Contender Series. Such an amazing fight. He did lose that fight, but it was still a great fight. He was tough. He gave it his all, and yeah, I don't see Castaneda being able to do harder damage than that to Vologden. And so, yeah, I think Vologden goes out there. I think he's going to swing pretty heavy. I think he's going to land some good shots. And I think he's going to put out Castaneda in the second round after a somewhat close first round. But the second round, then you see Vologden starting to pick it up more, get his rhythm more. And I think he's going to land that shot in the second round and finish John Castaneda. Then we move up from that fight to JJ Aldrich versus Jamie Lynn Horth. I'm going with Jamie Lynn Horth to win this fight over JJ Aldrich. Jamie Lynn Horth I think has a little bit more potential in her. JJ Aldrich kind of seems like she's not too dangerous, not too intimidating of a fighter. I think Jamie Lynn Horth will be able to use her home field advantage, and I think she will be more comfortable in there. And yeah, I think Jamie Lynn Horth wins this fight by a I think it's gonna be by decision, but you don't know with women's fights right now because a lot of them have been kind of coming out of nowhere with crazy finishes. But I think this one, I think Jamie Lynn Horth finished this one with a decision or a submission in the first or second round over JJ Aldrich. And yeah, move right on from that one because again, most of this card is not that really entertaining of fights. This is probably one of the worst stadium shows I've seen in a while as far as star power. I think some of these fights will be interesting, like this one, Mitch Raposo versus Alan Nascimento. Um, I'm gonna go with Mitch Raposo to win this fight. Mitch has impressed me in certain fights of his. Um, Not super impressive, but he has impressed me. And El Nascimento has as well, and I think Nascimento is the smart option to go with here. But I'm going to go with Mitch Raposo because I've got a feeling that he's going to mixing kicks pretty decently to El Nascimento, and I think he's going to just I think this fight's going to get away from Alan Nascimento a little bit because I think Nascimento is going to go into it a little bit slower. For some reason, I've got that feeling that he's going to slowly build into this fight, and I think Mitch is going to start a little bit earlier, and Mitch is going to snowball, get the first two rounds, probably lose the third, and yeah, I think he beats Alan Nascimento in a 29-28 decision. That is pretty close, but I think it's going to be an interesting fight with some pretty fun moments in each round. And yeah, I think this is going to be a good fight, and I think Mitch Raposo wins but just barely. I think he's just going to be able to mix in a little bit more damage than Nascimento, and I think it's going to be a pretty close fight. Then we have Melissa Croden versus Daria Zaleshnikova. Um, huh. This one, I wanted to pick Melissa Croden in Canada. They're not that far off as far as skill or size or anything like that. Like both 5'9", 68.5-inch reach to 68-inch reach. But I was thinking of Melissa Croden, but I'm gonna go with Daria Zaleshnikova. I think Melissa Croden should probably win this one because she has the home field advantage. But Daria Zeleznyakova is, I think, going to be able to pull this one out. I think she's going to get a moment where she gets dropped, and I think she's going to go onto her back, eventually get Melissa Croden, and somewhat scramble, reverse it, get on top, and then submit Melissa Croden with a arm triangle or a rear naked choke. Um, and yeah, I think Daria Zheleznyakova wins this fight after being hurt, where she gets into a vulnerable spot. Melissa Croden goes to try and finish, can't quite do it, and Daria Zheleznyakova wins this matchup via submission in the first round. Actually, I think around the halfway point of the first round, Melissa Croden's gonna land a decent shot that wobbles Daria. Then Melissa's gonna either drop Daria or put her to the ground by picking her down, tripping her down. Then I think Daria's gonna recover, scramble, get to the top, get to either the back or to an arm triangle, and she's gonna finish Melissa Croden. Then we have Tanner Boser versus Gokhan Sakaram. I mean, this is like one of like four fighters I think on this card that they don't even have the picture up for. But I'm going to go with Gokhan Sarikam because Tanner Boser has not really ever impressed me, and I think Gokhan Sarikam, he's going to be more natural at heavyweight than Tanner Boser. Boser is coming up from light heavyweight, and yeah, I think Gokhan Sakaram is going to finish Boser in within the first. No, you know what? I think it's going to be in the second round, um, where he hurts Boser at the end of the first round, and then goes into the second round and hurts him again. And this time he hurts him earlier on and is able to finish him early into the second round. And yeah, Gokhan Sarikam, I think beats Tanner Boser again. I don't know much about Gokhan, but I'm gonna go with him. And we move up to Julian LeBlanc versus Robert Valentin. Again, another fighter they don't have the picture up for, but I'm not gonna really bet on Robert Valentin to win this fight because Robert Valentin is not that great. He's 11-6. He's been beaten by some pretty awful, well, not awful, but he's been beaten dominantly by Ateba Gautier. I saw that one live. The sounds of that fight were absolutely crazy. It sounded like gunshots when Gautier would land. Um, and then he lost to Torres Finney as well. Julian LeBlanc, I don't know really much about him, but I think he's up this high on the card for a reason. And from what I did see in my research for him, I think he'll be able to handle in there with Robert Valentin. And I think this fight's going to go to a decision, but I think Julian LeBlanc wins by a 30-27, where he either has Valentin hurt or close to being submitted at certain points in the later rounds of this fight. Then we move up to the main card. Denis Bushaka versus Mauricio Barbosa. I'm going with Mauricio Barbosa to win this fight by a knockout. I think he's going to mix it up pretty well as far as head body, and I think he's going to hurt Dennis a couple times or sting Dennis a couple times to the body with good shots, get Dennis starting to lower his hands. Then I think he's going to throw something over the top that's going to hurt Dennis, then lead to a finishing combo against the cage, and I think he's going to finish him. Dennis, from what I remember of him, is not the most promising fighter. Mauricio, from what I could see, looks like he's a decent prospect, and yeah, I think Mauricio knocks out Denis Bajuka in the first round. First or third, I think it's either going to be real early or it's going to be real late, and yeah, I think Mauricio Barbosa wins this matchup. Just skipping right through all these because a lot of these are just unknowns or low level fights that, quite frankly, I'm not too interested in, and I'm not feeling great with these allergies, so I just want to get through it. Thiago Moises versus Gage Young. I think Thiago Moises wins this fight. I think he's going to out veteran and just outdo Gage Young. Now, obviously, I could be very wrong in this matchup, but I've got a weird feeling that Thiago Moises, this is going to be one of those y'all must have forgots, and he's going to put in a grappling clinic in moments of this fight where he gets some control, and almost has some submissions in, and Gage Young just kind of can't really build back from that once Thiago starts to snowball. And yeah, I think Gage Young loses a close fight where maybe he has Thiago hurt early, but Thiago survives it and then goes on to get some good time on the ground, land some decent shots, and I think he beats Gage Young in a 29-28 decision, where Gage Young just gets outworked in the last 2 rounds. Then we move up to Jasmine Jasdavicius versus Karine Silva. Um, I don't know what it is, but it feels like Karine Silva's fighting like every 2 months. Um, but Jasmine Jasdavicius, I think, wins this fight. I think she's going to be a little bit more dangerous in certain spots in this fight than Karine Silva. Karine Silva could definitely win this fight. These two are both very good, or very decent women's prospects in the flyweight division. But I think Jasmine Jasdavicius is um a little bit more on that path to contendership than Karine Silva is, and I think Jasmine's going to be able to cause more damage, cause more problems for Karine in the grappling, in certain positions, and I think she's going to be able to keep it somewhat neat on the feet, and yeah, I think Jasmine's going to be able to win this fight, narrow fight with just edging out like the third round or third or second round. And yeah, I think Jasmine Jasdavicius wins this fight over Karine Silva, um, in a decision. But I think it's going to be a either very boring or a somewhat interesting women's fight. Okay, Mandel Nalo versus Jai Herbert. This one I was trying to pick between, and I was having a really hard time because I don't know much about Mandel Nalo. I do know obviously Jai Herbert. He's been knocked out by Ilia Topuria. Has had other good performances in his UFC career, and is been in the UFC. Mandel Nalo obviously debuting. See on my paper here, um I have Jai Herbert picked. But now I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, well, Mandel Nalo, why is he this high up on the card? It's not because Jai Herbert's carrying him. Jai Herbert's 13-6-1. His only recognizable name is from being knocked out by Ilia Topuria. Why are they above like a Thiago Moises on this card? Then I'm thinking, well, but what I saw of Mandel Nalo is not too spectacular, so maybe they want to give Jai Herbert a good win, but why would they want to do that on the Canada card against the Canadian? So you know what? Last minute, I'm gonna switch to Mandel Nalo. I don't know much about him, but I think he's gonna beat Jai Herbert. I think Jai Herbert obviously is slowing down a lot. Um, his record doesn't really look too great, and I think Mandel Nalo um gets this end down eventually and finishes this by ground and pound. That's the vision I've got in my head, is that he eventually takes down Jai Herbert with like a chaotic trip or something, gets to the ground, and finishes it with a ground and pound in probably the third round after a closely fought first and second. Then we move up to Kyler Phillips versus Charles Jourdain in our co-main event. I'm actually pretty excited for this fight. I saw Kyler Phillips fight in person at UFC 318. And he lost that fight to Vinicius Oliveira in a not so interesting fight. But Charles Jourdain has looked really great since coming down to bantamweight. I believe he's had 2 back-to-back guillotines, both very good ones. One where he had a crazy flying knee in it. Um, his record does not show kind of the promise that I think he does have. Especially now that he's down at bantamweight, being 17-8-1. I think Charles Jourdain wins this fight. And I think he wins it earlier rather than later. I think he's going to win it in either the first or the second. I think Kyler's going to come out, I think, pretty quick against Jourdain, but I think Jourdain's going to then capitalize on certain moments of Kyler going in quick, and I think Jourdain's going to catch Kyler, hurt him. Kyler's gonna try and go for the ground, try and take down Jourdain, and I think Jourdain gets a third guillotine in a row. Maybe turns it into a Darce or an Anaconda, but I think he gets a third guillotine in a row, and finishes Kyler Phillips in the late first or no, early first or early second. I think it's going to come earlier into a round than it will later because I think Kyler will be more willing early in the round to come at him all he's got. And yeah, I think Charles Jourdain finishes Kyler Phillips in the early first or early second via a guillotine, or maybe he just knocks him out. But I'm thinking a submission where he hurts him. Kyler then shoots in to try and save himself and gets caught into some sort of submission, whether it's a guillotine or a Darce. And yeah, I picked Charles Jourdain. And I'm gonna be rooting for Charles Jourdain because I do like Charles Jourdain as a bantamweight fighter. Then we move up to our main event of the evening: Gilbert Durinho Burns versus Mike Malott. Oh boy. Okay. Wow. Where do we go here? Because Gilbert is, I think, pretty washed at this point. I believe his last one was against Jorge Masvidal. Since then, he's lost to Bilal, Michael Morales, Sean Brady. Who was the other one? I think there's another one in there somewhere. Um, but yeah, I think he's on a 4-fight losing streak. I just don't remember who the fourth one is. Mike Malott coming off of a close fight with Kevin Holland. Um, but I think Mike Malott wins this fight. Mike Malott lost to Neil Magny. But I mean, a lot of people have. Gilbert Burns, I think his chin has been tested a lot, especially from that Michael Morales fight where he's been off for a while. Um, and I think Mike Malott has grown since the Neil Magny fight, and I don't think Gilbert's been growing really over these past couple. I think he's been kind of working out of the contract. He's moved off of fighting as his main focus, moved more towards content and stuff like that. But yeah, I think Mike Malott wins this fight, and I think he catches Gilbert in the second round, blitzes in, kind of chaotically, lands a 1-2, puts Gilbert Burns down on his back, then gets on top of him, lands a couple KO shots of ground and pound, and the ref separates it. But I think Gilbert will get his legs chopped up a little bit here. I think Gilbert will be trying, obviously, to get this to the ground, and I think Mike's going to be trying his absolute hardest to stand up. Um, and I think he's going to be able to. I think Mike's going to be able to use his range and his height to his advantage. And I think he's going to beat up on Gilbert Burns with a close first round, but then in the second round, I think he's going to catch him where he's going to hurt him in the leg with the legs and then maybe hit him in the body. And Gilbert's going to be pushing back. They're going to be separated. And then Mike's going to blitz in one with a jab. Maybe he hits it pretty good, but I don't even think it matters. I think he just follows through with the 2, and knocks down and then gets on top and finishes Gilbert Burns. And leads us closer to a Gilbert Burns retirement. I think Gilbert should be retiring. Um but I think Mike Malott finishes him. I think Mike Mallott's kind of putting him up a little bit on the platter. Now, obviously, if Mike Malott loses this fight, crazy. I think Gilbert should still retire if he wins this. But I don't know if he will even try to retire regardless from this fight. I think Mike Malott should do this. He better not sell. He better not be like winning like 3 or 4 rounds of this fight and then get like put down into a triangle by Gilbert and finished, and then here we are. So yeah, I think Mike Malott wins this fight by a second round or third round knockout, where he blitzes in with a 1-2 and catches Gilbert kind of retreating a little bit on the back while being kind of worn down, a little tired. And yeah, I think Mike Malott wins in his hometown, and does it for Canada. And yeah, even though on the picture here it says United States, he is from Canada. He is the Canadian fighter pretty much. And yeah, I'm gonna go with Mike Malott. This one was a really quick prediction video because yeah, allergies and this card is not that great as far as like names. Again, I know it's kind of hard to say like this card is great before it happens. I know Dana and all them say that, but sometimes a fight it's not a captivating card. The card could be great, but it's not captivating on name value. It's not captivating on who's all in it. and I'm still excited for it. I'm gonna try and watch it all, because I do have to work around it. But yeah, Gilbert Burns, Mike Malott this weekend. Who do you think's gonna win the main event? And yeah, thank you. Bye.